Yeah, let's go ahead and get started here. And then Scott will perform a little music later on.
All right.
Okay.
All right. So welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Cindy Schwarzstein, Art at the Rendon's curator and executive director of programming, projects, and community partnerships. This is our premiere of Inside the Rendon Artist Salon. We are excited to be reuniting artists from hidden rooms, actors from stories, and musicians from rhythms of the city. During the 60-minute presentation, we're looking forward to sharing how this community of creatives transformed the Rendon building in the downtown Los Angeles Arts District during the last three unique immersive events, obviously pre-COVID. We'll also be learning about what they've been up to since those in-person events. Inside the Rendon Artist Salon will be focusing on one room per episode, and I'll be moderating the discussions, which will offer an inside perspective on the past, present, and future of Art at the Rendon. Today's episode for Room 43 features Dave Lovejoy, the artist from Hidden Rooms, Danny Hackin, the actor from Stories, and Scott Breadman, musician from Rhythms of the City. There will be a short film of photos and videos from the Art at the Rendon events, focusing on the artists who are featured in this episode. Then there will be a panel discussion and a Q&A session where Ralph Zeman, co-founder and executive director of Art at the Rendon, will be joining us. In the meantime, Ralph, I'm gonna go ahead and pass the microphone over to you.
Hey, welcome everyone, and thanks for coming and being part of the Salon series. We were fascinated by the idea of different people occupying the same space at different moments. At different moments in time. Did you ever wonder who lived in your house or apartment before you? Did they build it? Were their lives happy, complicated, or just mundane? Imagine a time machine that could go back and take a peek into the past. That is the essence of the Salon series. There are many reasons why we did these events. As artists, we sometimes become very insular. We work on our own paths. Our paths don't cross with fellow artists, and our lives are often running in parallel. Art at the Rendon events have been an amazing opportunity to bring artists, musicians, and actors together. An opportunity to meet fellow creatives whose work we have known, admired, and been aware of for years. It has also been an opportunity to put new faces on our radar and make contacts and let the creativity fly. This has resulted in many collaborations, actors working together, musicians collaborating on new works, getting to know other artists, making friends, etc. I feel very lucky to have made so many good friends and have met so many of the artists that I admire. LA has always been an incredibly creative city with a unique culture. We are passionate about this culture. We're passionate about the charities we've supported over the last few years, and we look forward to keeping this going and, well, to resuming it once COVID is over. I'm handing over to Maria Greenshield-Zeman, our creative director.
Hi everyone, thanks for coming. My name is Maria Greenshield-Zeman, and I'm the creative director of Art at the Rendon. Just a couple of things before we get going. We'd love to have you participate in the Q&A, but please save your questions till then. You can raise your hand to ask your question by clicking the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen under the reactions icon. When it's your turn, we'll unmute you. If you don't see the raise your hand function, then just type your question in the chat box and we'll get to you there. We'll do our best to answer as many questions as possible within the time. You may need to raise your volume for the video presentation, but then you can just lower it back down afterwards. If you missed any of this episode or you'd like to share it with someone who wasn't able to be with us today, it'll be available at our Art at the Rendon website and on YouTube. So now to sit back, relax, and enjoy our film. Bye.
Great.
Reminder that this is our launch, so hang in there with us, guys. Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Just one more second. Thank you, guys.
Art at the Rendon is an ongoing series of creative programs designed to celebrate and support the arts. To date, we have produced 3 fully immersive events where the audience was invited to roam and explore each activation of the historic Rendon Hotel, creating their own unique experience. Hidden Rooms transformed the Rendon into a fully immersive 3-story art experience. Over 85 renowned artists and performers created 45 site-specific installations.
Weird magnetic anomaly, like there are multiple magnetic fields in this room. And the way that was discovered is there's a next to the building that's growing towards, like instead of growing towards the sunlight, it's growing towards this room. So I just played with that idea.
First of all, a lot of the artists involved in the show knew the history of the building, and it has a history. And I wasn't part of that, and so that gave me hearing those conversations of, oh, I remember coming here and doing X, Y, or Z. I wasn't part of that, and so it gave me more freedom to create my own history for my own room. I don't sketch things out. When I have an idea like that, it's just the seed of an idea. It kind of works in undefined steps within my head. And so I'll do a thing kind of like a sketch within the 3 dimensions and then build upon it. And so it kind of just grew in place, and that gives it that organic feel as well, because it's not planned. It's the space defined where those things went. But you get to a certain tipping point that it's like, okay, now it's a thing, and I can just follow that energy and dress the corners, and it's, you know, it's complete. It has to look like it's always been there. That's what it is that makes it convincing for me. When I do an installation, I like it to have kind of a double reveal. So when you first walk in, there's something that you're facing, and that has a certain story or energy or whatever. But then once you enter the space, there's something else that you're presented with. And so in that room, when you first came in, there was kind of the study and the chalkboard and the desk, and there was some kind of scientific stuff going on. And then when you came around the corner and entered the room, there was over 1,000 sticks sweeping up from the corner behind the closet. I have a kind of anti-reaction to influencers in general in my environment. Not in general, but just as far as my interaction with them. It's always kind of a tense thing. And so that piece was almost purposely not an Instagrammable thing. Basically, when you walk into that room, you're the subject of the work. And so when you're not in it, when you're standing back trying to photograph it, it doesn't really make sense, because it's not about anything. You have to be in it, and then it's about you.
Stories imagine the historic narrative of the building and its colourful past. 75 performers enacted fictionalized stories, inviting the audience to eavesdrop from the threshold of each room.
The second I saw Room 43, I just fell in love. It was because of the branches. It was because it felt like a room within a room. It felt like I was in a jungle inside of an apartment building. And I just felt like I could do whatever I wanted in that room. The character was this mad scientist. I changed the name a couple times, but the main name that I would use was a character named Dr. Doc Docker, and I would always spell the name out, Dr. D-O-C-T-O-R, Doc D-O-C-K, Docker D-O-C-K-E-R, and I'd always make a game out of that, and I did this character, well, because the room was already somewhat of a room within a room, I wanted to create a building within a building that I was building adjacent to a building of a building that I was building. I asked Cindy and Maria for all these bottles to be filled with like different colored liquids, and I used it as like, the yellow was urine, the green was mucus, the blue was alien blood, and I did this whole thing where I isolated myself in this room and had this story where I had lived in this room for over 30 years without coming out. So yeah, it was quite an experience. For me, something like this is a way to push the boundaries of theater and to redefine what theater is, and to not just say that theater is this one thing where you could be on stage and there's the audience right there and you're just performing to them. Theater could be done in a building. Theater could be done right here. For me, theater is so much bigger than just having people come see you in one confined space. And it really felt like we were expanding what that definition was and expanding the boundaries of how we could put on theater.
Rhythms of the City was a collaborative performance of a unique score written by renowned musician and composer Heitor Pereira. Through a fusion of diverse cultural genres, 100 musicians and dancers performed one piece of music simultaneously in 40 different musical styles.
Well, I didn't choose the room. I got lucky. And John Leftwich called me and said, you want to be the nature guy? Be in the room with, playing nature stuff. And I said, yes, sounds interesting. I felt like I was in a bird's nest. I was just sitting just like this in a little nest of, that's why I got into the bird whistles. I'm not sure I'd ever done anything like that before, where you're playing, sitting actually just like this, and people just come in and out. It's set up to listen for a few minutes and leave. And what I was trying to do in my portion of Rhythms of the City was like creating landscapes. And so I viewed it more like they were, the audience was like in a car driving by or on a bus or something, and I'm just creating this thing and they're looking out the window and seeing it and then moving on to their next thing. It was all improvised. I did hear the piece before I did it, so it wasn't like, I knew what the sections were coming up, so it's not improvised. I knew it was gonna come, but I would try, what I played was improvised. Some sections I did, I'll play this in this section, but I did it every time. That's right. And it was totally amazing. Just the concept was hysterical and great. Of just, a hotel filled with different rooms of musicians. Yeah, no, it was amazing.
Woohoo! Who's dancing right now from all of those that were at Rhythms of the City? Is it bringing it back?
Yeah, absolutely.
Want to have like a love fest party right now? I just ad-libbed that. It does, though. I swear I get so excited every time I hear that song. I can hear it over and over and over and over again. I just absolutely love it. So what about you, Scott? Like when you hear that song, what comes up for you?
The same thing. It was a great piece. We played it. How many times did we play it each night? I don't remember. 3 times.
Yeah.
Is it 3 times a night? How many? 3 days in a row?
3 nights in a row, yeah.
I got it by the last time. I nailed it.
And it was interesting because by the last day, I was having people who knew me phoning and saying, "Can you get us tickets?" And the answer was no. We are completely sold out. So yeah, it's a building that was built in 1912. We were kind of like, we don't know how many people this can actually take, so we were trying to be a little bit conservative. I got a question. Well, I've got questions for everybody, but David, like the one thing I noticed going into that room was this just amazing smell of willow bark, and it was very nostalgic for me. It kind of took me back to my childhood when we used to strip willow bark and make bows and arrows and stuff. Was it a little bit like that for you?
Well, it's a familiar material for me because that came from a willow house that I had built at the museum. And I've been doing this work for a while. So it had actually sat out in the garden in LA for 2 years. And then I have taking that apart at the same time that we were doing the project at the Rendon. So at the end of the day, I had it in my truck and I just happened to bring some in. And the way the hotel was, it had been locked up for a bit. And so it was kind of musty on its own. And so that was almost like was a little seasoning on top of what the hotel was already bringing.
Well, I think it was a little bit of relief from what the hotel was bringing.
In that room particularly, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's why you did it, just so you didn't have to be in a room with that lovely downtown LA sewage smell.
Well, I'm used to that. I've got my studio down at the last bookstore at 5th and Spring, and so I've been down there for a while. But yeah, the hotel definitely has its own unique aroma when we first opened it up. And it was I love unique venues. And so just being given that room and the happenstance, if you will, that room was basically like a 9-foot cube. And that was about the footprint of the round thing that I was taking apart. So I just happened to have a weird supply of all these curved sticks that fit in that room perfectly.
It was meant to be, right?
Yeah, it was a happy accident. Yeah.
Good. Danny, quick question is, like, I noticed you got in character and you stayed in character the whole time. Is that part of your method? Can you tell us your method? Can you tell us how you
Any Hackin method.
came into the character and how you inhabited it?
Take notes, people. This is going to be complex now. No, I think it just what the room brought out of me. I was so enthralled by the room that the character kind of just presented itself as I was exploring what this room was. I didn't have any preconceived thoughts or any idea of what I wanted to make it. I just saw what my surroundings were, and it was like, okay, cool. We could work with this. We could do something with this. And it all just, came together. You missed my presentation. Sorry, I'm just reading the chat. I get distracted easily.
Always an opportunity to watch it on YouTube afterwards.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
We can still see it. Mhm. Danny, did your character evolve over the 3 days of the event? Did you get more and more insane?
Yeah, in a way, I guess, because yes and no. I guess the evolution came from the freedom and from just letting my mind go. There were times where I even surprised myself, and I had no idea what I was saying at times. I just was going off in tangents, and sometimes it's nice to not know what you're saying, kind of like right now. But no, I just tried to just see where the character could take me.
Great. And Scott, just really loved your nature percussion. What was it like to have so many musicians playing at the same time? Was it, in all these far-flung venues, but we had it coming in over speakers into the different rooms. Can you share something of your experience?
Well, it was pretty interesting. The room next to mine, you could hear everything. The way it was set up is the main track was played in the hallway, and then in each room you played your part, and people walked into your room and heard it and moved on to the next room. But you could hear some of the other rooms, and right next to me was a gypsy jazz trio on one side and a Nigerian balafone duo on the other side. And you could kind of hear that, and I couldn't help but include some of that in my thing, which I thought, was subtle, but I don't know if anyone, it was pretty, it was loud. Everything was loud and crazy, and it was exciting, it was, that was my, and then people would come in. That was interesting too, about some people would just come in and stick their head in and leave immediately, like, not going in there. And then other people would have hung out the whole time for the whole song. So it was interesting.
I think there was a lot of kind of FOMO, like if I don't get around quick enough, I'm going to miss it. I'm not going to see every room.
That's right.
So I think people were sort of, a little bit, anxious about, about being able to see and experience the whole thing. But then, as the piece progressed, There were people dancing in the hallways, singing. You know, it seemed like even the audience was making part of the music.
Yeah, I agree. And I think people also, part of the people wanted to catch everything and then go back to what, you know, or return somewhere. That's what, you know, people said, I'll be back. Like a, yeah.
That's what Arnold Schwarzenegger said.
Exactly.
And tell us about the instruments you were playing and like why you chose them. I know you've probably got a very large collection of drums and different things to make noises with, but what you chose and what you brought.
Well, I was assigned to be the nature guy, all natural stuff. So I tried to play all natural kind of instruments, no metal, you know, stuff that's all found in nature. I did one, the closest I came to, and I had set it up, and when I was at home thinking, all right, this will be my setup, and I had set it up, and I had hardware, drum hardware, where I had stuff attached to, you know, the nature stuff attached, and it didn't seem right. So I went out and I tried, I got sticks and made my own, lashed together my own drum hardware, which I still have, and it's still together. It just barely made it for the 3 days, but it looked cooler and felt more natural, especially in the Nest. I tried to play the Nest also, but I was worried about.
Build it properly.
Yeah, but this is the most. This is a clay drum I played a lot of, called a udu. It's a natural, you know, it's clay, it's fired, you know, it's got a thing here. And you play it like.
That sounds like my stomach.
Is that, is it distorting?
Well, no, I thought it was my stomach for a second.
Oh. That kind of thing. I played, and then my concept was it was rhythms of the city, so it's, which meant just sounds of the city in different parts, and so I was a nature guy. I did a lot of bird kind of things, like a bird flying by, you know. With that kind of, with this, I forgot which kind of. This is very common in LA. The seed pod, but I don't remember exactly what tree it's from.
Not a carrot, is it?
I played some bird whistles. This is a good one. Although this is my favorite one.
That's cool.
That kind of stuff. You know. This is another, played this a lot, which is a Nigerian talking drum, which is all made out of natural materials. It's got a wood center with skin heads. I think this might be goat, with tied by rope, and you squeeze it. As you squeeze it, it changes the pitch. And I used it with the udu. Kind of thing. That was, I also had, I don't have them here today, but I brought some palm tree fronds, some dried palm, and played those with sticks, which sounded really good. I don't have any with me, but, and a few things like that, some big leaves, some banana leaves, and just, you know, natural type stuff.
Great, great. Dave, there was an amazing story. I arrived one day when we were all doing our installation, and there were all these magnifying glasses on the outside of the on the fence of the parking lot. Can you tell us about them? Can you tell us a story about how they came to be there and why you chose them?
Well, that's something that I've done in a few different spaces, and I figured especially there because folks would be lining up there. And just doing that at eye level, the anticipation of seeing this thing and having it kind of, it's almost like looking through bubbles. That's my interest in them. I love the distortion that you can get. And with lenses, they have a specific point of view because you can use them either to focus on something or to obscure something. And so with them hanging kind of randomly like that, you get both. And on that one, that's the intersection of Santa Fe. And I was hanging those actually when there was that shooting at the Santa Fe school. And I got a little news alert on my phone at that time. And so for me personally, that made it a little more poignant because it kind of had some representation of that, just doing that at that moment on that specific street. But the intention was just to be, I don't know, it's almost like a line at an amusement park where there are, you know, little features along the way to keep your interest. It's kind of that. It was something to look through as you're waiting to go inside.
Great, amazing. And Danny, just can you tell us about what you've been doing since? And I know obviously it's not really a time for live performance, but were there collaborations and working with other actors, and did you make some connections with some of the people you were interacting with? I saw in the photographs.
Yes, not necessarily in the photographs, but I've done a couple things with some of the people who also had rooms. Zachariah the Witch, BJ Arvell, Marzia, Sharif, a lot of good people, and we've just been doing some film stuff. And I myself have been doing a lot of Zoom, as is probably everybody. I've been, now that theaters are no more, I've been doing some not live, but some Zoom stuff. I do this one thing with a group of people where we just do play readings on Wednesdays, and that's a lot of fun. And then I have this other thing that I go to on Saturdays, and it's called the Cabinet of Oddities, and I read spoken word poetry, and it's great. Yeah.
And I think you have a clip of that, Danny. Should we come?
Yes, we do. Let's segue.
Okay, good segue.
Nice segue. By the way, did anybody notice in the video, in all three of our interviews, how the seats kept getting lower and lower to the point where Scott was sitting on the floor? You had David sitting in a really high up seat.
We were just telling about possessions as we went along to make the full.
Yeah.
Scott got there. There was
a faulty tripod, so they had to keep going down.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and share Danny's video.
Share me. My video. Share my video.
Oh, Danny.
Oh, 1 sec.
All right, let's start 40 seconds. And so, yeah, but I got this piece. Jody was talking about, identity and the idea of what it means to be a lion and how lions don't think about being lions. They just are lions. And I just, thought about just doing something about, identity and who I am. So this is just called What Do You See? Look at me. What do you see? What do you think? Do you see a freak, a human being? Something unique, royalty, a king looking for a queen, a fiend, a sheep, the meek? Or do you see my strength, my shine, my gleam? Do you see my reality, or am I just another American dream walking in my sleep? Do you see me as rich or cheap, shallow or deep, conscious or zombie? Do you see how I act calmly and not obnoxiously? What is me? What is not me? My body is my home, but do you see how I don't want to be treated like property? I want to be treated like any other person. When you see me, do you act logically? Do you see me as just little, maybe something that fits in your palm like a skittle? Do you see me as complex like a riddle? Am I an ice cube so cold or so hot as a griddle? Do you see I'm at the front of the line and not an average Malcolm in the middle? Do you see the ways I strum music the universe produces to play like a fiddle? Do you see me as capital, or am I social with my vocals sharp like a hammer and sickle?
Do you see the path that's laid out in front of me? Or do you think I'm just being fickle? Do you see I don't need a business suit to be civil? Do you see the ball I dribble, the words I scribble, the bits without kibbles, making grit a reward, hearing the giggles? Do you see this feeling as a flicker, a sizzle that fizzles in your innards just like a tickle? So I ask, what do you see? What could it be? Am I a key unlocking the door to sanity? Can it be? Or is everything I believe just a fantasy and I'm not living in the actually? I doubt that factually, because accurately I lessen calamity with a mind that's a factory. Now I ask myself, what do I see? I see a man that's magnificently acting naturally. Happy birthday, Ray.
Yeah.
God, what the fuck was that?
I just wanted to see your facial expressions, but you were just like this the whole time.
Oh, no, it's all good. I was just taking it in. I was taking in the words.
It was really, really touching.
So,
Really
so who wrote that for?
What's up?
Who wrote that?
Oh, this guy named Danny Hackin.
You wrote
Yes, I wrote that.
amazing.
And if we'd known you had that talent as a rapper, we might have put you in Rhythms of the City as well. So
That's very true.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Next
where
time.
you
Next
may
time.
come to another part of our programming in the future. Yeah.
Oh, thanks, guys.
do you guys have any questions for each other, like regarding the room or the performances, or can we open it up to like a
I think Dave has some.
Dave's got some.
I don't have a question, but I have
Sorry.
something I wanted to add, and to Danny's performance. I had the opportunity to see basically kind of a dress rehearsal the night, a bit of a preview. And I remember emailing or messaging Cindy afterwards and said, please tell Danny that that thing has already served its purpose. It's already done the thing that it was intended to do. And so that he could just go nuts. Because there was a little bit of like respect for the sticks, because he was in this environment that somebody else had made. And it's, it's some set or whatever, but I wanted him to have that freedom because his character was so over the top and so just off the edge. I loved it. And so I'm glad that he felt that freedom to just go nuts in there.
Thanks, Dave. I have a question for you, actually. I've asked this, when you see huge like Diego Rivera paintings or just huge murals in general, and you always wonder like, where did the person start? So like, where in that room, like where was your starting point?
My starting point quite literally was, I had a totally different idea for that room. Susan Feldman has joined us here, and we were going to collaborate. She had the room downstairs, and we were going to knock out the floor in the closet and do this weird interactive elevator thing. And then those permissions, I had misunderstood what we could do, and in the time that we had, it just didn't work out. And so I had all these straight linear things that wound up just sitting in the closet. I didn't really use them. And I was taking apart that willow hut and had those big round sticks, so I just grabbed a couple. And I came into the room and I was just kind of holding it as a line and just kind of looking at it. And when I went across like the closet and the sink, just one line across there, it totally denied that. It totally made it like restricted. And so I figured that's what I have to do. I have to just sweep a big circle of sticks in there, and it will totally overtake all the architecture that's happened. And so that was how it started. I just grabbed a stick and waved it around.
Where did the idea come? There was a button in the room that said "Do not press," and it was right there, and like the inner child in me just wanted to press that button so badly.
That was the elevator button for the installation I was going to do with Susan. That
and
was
what would happen if I pressed
a dummy button, but that was to make it look like an elevator.
Okay.
It was one of the things that I had made for that installation that became Plan B.
It was very effective. Do you know how many people actually pressed it?
I would say probably half of the people, and every single person who was alone in that room pressed it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Did you press it, Danny?
Possibly. Possibly.
Scott?
I did not press it.
Scott didn't know what it was going to do, right?
Right. So then Scott is the only one that I haven't made a replicant of.
We've been working on some things recently that you can share with us. Shall we have a look at them? Amazing stuff.
Oh yeah, sure. Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I sent some photos. We can just go through it.
Yeah.
So
Whoa.
Wow.
this first photo, that's actually the hut that I took apart. So that was at the garden in Natural History Museum. So it was there for about a couple of years, but the shape of it, that roundness of it, is about the same dimension of the room. So that's why it fits so well. They had just dried in that shape. So there's another one there now, but that's where that, yeah, this was the first one that I built there. And the one that's there now is actually the 3rd edition, but that's where those came from.
Wow.
So cool. Oh, that's so
Yeah,
cool.
this is the one that's there now.
It kind of looks like a face.
Yeah, thank you. The other one had like an igloo entrance, and this one I wanted kind of like an inverted igloo. So it kind of sweeps in rather than projecting out. It has an innie instead of an outie.
And it just seems like as a kid, you just want to crawl into that immediately.
Yeah.
Everyone that I've built there has 2 entrances. There's a kid entrance and there's an adult entrance. So on the right side of this one, you can't really see, but there's an adult size entrance over there. Because I don't want any kid to go in there and feel trapped. There's always 2 doors. So no bully can come and trap somebody. Now, this is one of the first things I did in quarantine. I have a shop downtown and I closed it up in March because we have some health issues at home that we're kind of being protective of. So once the lockdown happened, we took it really seriously and we started keeping chickens. So this is a chicken coop that I built, and a lot of it is repurposed stuff. I'm kind of a carpenter at heart.
Some very lucky chickens.
Yeah, like a double-story chicken in the house. You know?
They're very happy in there.
Like the window.
They've got a better home than Manuela's chickens.
And then these are some planters that I built, covered up so that the chickens don't get into them. But yeah, these are all full of our spring greens starting up now.
Marijuana?
No, only one. The rest of it all vegetables. Now, this is the first sticks thing that I actually built for myself. This is in my yard beside the house. And years ago, I was introduced to Patrick Doherty, who does these kind of stick sculptures all over the world. And I kind of apprenticed with him, and that's where I learned this. So this is the style of that sculpture that was at the museum, but it's the first one that I've done just for me.
Beautiful. It's like a vortex. Amazing.
Yeah. And then recently I've been doing these things for Descanso Gardens. They've commissioned an outside artist. These are some little deer that I made there for the fall. And I did them up high so kids could kind of imagine them as reindeer, and also so that parents wouldn't put kids on them for selfies. I want them to look wiggly and dangerous so they'd be left alone, and they were. And then most recently, they've got some things for spring where they're doing some things with nests. So I built a bowerbird nest. The height of this at the point is probably, I'd say 17 or 18 feet. It's very, very tall. And then I did another one that's actually suspended within a house there.
Whoa.
So it's just floating.
Whoa, it looks like it's levitating.
I don't want to come I just want to like walk around that. It just looks inside it looks amazing.
Yeah, this is mostly grapevine. It's about 5 feet across. And what I did is I got an old papasan frame, the rattan papasan chair, because it's that perfect kind of walk shape. And then I wove grapevine and willow on both sides of it, kind of sandwich it, because I needed to be bulky but lightweight. And so that gave me the chance to have a framework that was lightweight.
Beautiful.
So this is there now. This is there through May. Oh, and this is my studio. I was asked before to show my studio, so I just took a panorama because I'm on my laptop and it doesn't work well. But this is actually the background behind me right now.
Wow. And what do you do for fun and to relax and stuff?
You know, I let the chickens out a lot. That's fun. And during COVID, I actually made a 3-hole Frisbee golf course in my yard.
Nice.
So just from the front corner to the backyard to the other corner, I can play 3 holes of Frisbee golf. So I'll do that back and forth from time to time.
Incredible.
Love it. I love it. Well, thanks, Dave. That's so cool to hear what you've been doing. Yeah, absolutely. Scott, what about you? What I mean, as a musician, I know that's got to be really, really tough right now.
It is tough. For the last year, I've been teaching on Zoom, which is also tough, but been interesting. And I do a fair amount of recording here for other people and different projects. That takes a lot of time. And I've been playing with some friends. We play out in his driveway every few weeks. We don't really, it's just not really a concert or anything. We just set up in his driveway and people show up and sit in lawn chairs. And that's been nice, kind of a public event. I have a little video, a few minute video of the neighbor is a cinematographer and made this amazing video on I think it's amazing. It's not on an iPhone, but I'll share it for a second.
Yeah, let's see it.
Let's see.
I love how everyone has had to just try to evolve into something different during this period of how they can.
Are you seeing that?
We're
Yes,
seeing it. This is great. Thanks, Scott.
it's full frame.
Anyway, that's
Amazing.
That's great.
Wow, I want to be the neighbor. I
Yeah,
wanna-
Lynn's,
Yeah.
Lynn's new meaning to the masked troubadour, right?
yeah, hold on, I can't get out. Uh-oh.
Yeah,
I
that's
like the way you had the horn player like kind of far away from everybody else.
Yeah. in their own.
Hold on, this is, oh, here we go.
Blowing the most germs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, before we open it up to Q&A, Scott and Dave, Danny, do you have any questions amongst yourself that you'd like to ask each other? Is there anything that's come up
Oh,
for you?
I think you just meant just questions in general. I was like, yeah, I got plenty of questions to ask amongst myself. But, I think we all have plenty of questions to ask right now.
But
Go for
that is true. Yeah. Don't get many answers, do we?
Scott, how many instruments do you have right there?
Right here?
Yeah, you look like, yeah.
I don't know, I guess about, well, in the room, you don't see it, there's about 100 in the room. But,
Jeez.
yeah, I don't know, 10, you know, and this. But yeah, this is where it doesn't look like a studio, but I have to tell people it's the studio. But yeah, I record in here. Yeah.
Very, very cool. Love it, love it, love it. Well, let's go ahead and open it up to Q&A. We've got about 10 minutes left. And let's ask from like our community here. Go ahead, and if you've got any questions, either raise your hand as Maria was saying, or just put it into chat, and we can go ahead and ask. I know that there's been a couple of comments, David, about how beautiful your art presentation was, the art pieces, how unique the work is. You'll probably see that in chat. Scott, looks like, yeah, comments about missing the music and how wonderful it was to hear yours just now. Thank you for that. Yeah, this has been fun.
So Michelle, do you want to go ahead and ask your question?
Yeah, I have a question for all three of y'all. What I'd like to know from Dave is, could you elaborate more on that inspiration of the gravitational pull that you mentioned? And then from Danny, can you tell me if your character, as best you remember, actually did ever push the button? And then Scott, tell me how you tried to play the sticks as incorporated into your bird nest.
Well, I just I had all kinds of mallets with me. I originally started with just regular drumsticks and then moved to cooking bamboo cooking utensils, which sound nice. And it's, I didn't want to destroy the thing, so just kind of played it softly. I had I tied the palm tree frond to the sticks that were beside me, and just kind of played it like that. It was a nice, soft, subtle sound.
Well, for my part, as far as the gravitational thing, I got the idea for the sticks, and as that was developing, it had a certain energy to it, and so I had to explain that. I had to give it a reason. And so I made up this story that there was a tree growing outside, and in that one spot, the branches, rather than growing towards the sunlight, were growing towards that room. And so someone walking down the street with some kind of knowledge that had made them curious, they came in and discovered that, and then they rented the room for years and years and studied the growth of this tree. And that whole thing had happened years before, and you're stumbling upon it now after the fact. The tree has grown for decades and is tearing all that study apart. So that's actually what's happening. It's an active scene, if you will, that it's happening when you're in it, but it's happening at the pace of the growth of a tree. So you don't notice that action. If you were to come back a year later, you would notice that action, as far as the story that I've made. But it was all just to explain why there's this weird twist of sticks in there.
Did I touch the button? Next question. That is the pending question. We cannot move on until I answer whether I touched the button or not, whether my character was driven to touch the button. We might be here all night.
Don't. It's just right?
I think I definitely used that in my character, or with my character. I remember I had a TV in the room 1 second, so I definitely was pushing a lot of those buttons.
I didn't touch the button, but I touched everything else.
Pressing people's buttons in general?
That too.
Okay. Good.
I'm a button presser.
I just remembered something, if I may, that I had done during the hidden rooms. While I was in the room waiting for people to come through, I was doing hash marks on the wall just to pass the time, just to add another energy to it, not knowing at all that someone then was later going to come and act a character that had lived in that room for years. So that was just kind of a fun overlap. I had made this kind of crazy wallpaper, if you will, just in passage of time. It wasn't actually marking anything. But with Danny's character inhabiting it, it gave it a whole different energy.
Wasn't there a scientific equation on the wall?
Yeah, several. Yeah.
That's
Mostly having to do with time travel and quantum travel.
nice.
All right. Are there any other questions? Michelle, thanks for asking those. Lisa, I see Lisa's up. Michelle?
Hi. I don't actually know how to use the reactions, apparently. There's one that's called clap. Is that what people use to raise their hand? I have no idea. But,
no, but we appreciate the applause.
I don't know how to raise my hand in Zoom. That's like an embarrassing confession after a year of all of this. But I was just, and I feel like Dave kind of answered this a little bit when he was saying, Danny, that he saw the preview of your performance and kind of said, like, go ahead and do whatever you want to the space. So he kind of got to see the next version of it. David, did you come again for Rhythms of the City? And I was wondering, Danny, if you came back for Rhythms of the City, like, I just wondering if you got to experience the later versions of it.
Yes. Yeah, I was, first of all, I was excited that the room got to live on. And I had a certain plan for it, and that had already happened. So it was fun to see these other iterations of it. Because the thing was meant to be that when you walk into it, you're experiencing, it's all about you. I hadn't pictured it as being a stage where someone would be performing in. And so that was just fun for me to come back and see it in that context.
And, you know, I know, you know, a lot of people have said, why is that the only room that's still standing? Well, nobody really wanted to take 7 tons of willow branches down the stairs, right? And fill up the dumpsters with them. So we just thought, well, just leave it be, right?
Leave it be.
Well, and when I came home and explained that to my wife, she thought it was such an honor. It was so neat that mine was the only one. And I said, no, it's because no one would steal it. All the other work has value. This work has no value.
It's just nature. God.
Selling bows and arrows for weeks, months.
Right.
It was,
the room still smells like
It
it's
does.
really amazing. It really
it's still outdoors.
Yeah.
It was so great to go back. It was so great to go back and to see Scott and his interpretation. Just whenever I play a role as a performer and then somebody else plays that same role like a year later or so, I always want to see what that person did to that role that I didn't do, or what I did that person didn't do. And it's never, you know, oh, you didn't do this, or oh, mine was better, this or that. It's just like, oh, that's so cool. You utilize this and you use this part. And to see just how Scott transformed it into his own interpretation was great. Because David said it, it's like the room is just up for what you want to do with it. And some people could get intimidated by that and not know what to do. But if you just see what's there and discover it, then go, oh, right, it's all right here. I just have to add my own insanity to it.
I never realized that like artists and musicians and actors were such superstitious people, because so many of them chose rooms just based on numbers. I want 33, I want 42, I want like, was there a reason you picked that room or the number, or was it just a random happening?
I chose room 43 because it was directly upstairs from Susan's room.
Oh, okay.
I planned that collaboration. And when that went away, I kicked myself after I was having to carry all those sticks up an extra flight of stairs, because there were other second floor rooms available, but I chose that one specifically. But
so Susan's fault, you're saying?
I think it was Ralph's fault, actually.
No, nothing.
With room 43, there was an old, I think, a British cop show, kind of a dragnet thing, that had this great theme called Room 43. And I wouldn't have discovered that if I hadn't been in that room. It's the same guy who did the Peter Gunn theme.
Oh, right.
Peter Gant or something.
Yeah.
I felt very comfortable sitting there.
Is there a show called Car 42 or Car 42? Where are you?
All right. Where are you? I did. It was comfortable. It was very comfortable sitting in the room there.
Well, at least you didn't have to put up with the smells of the hotel. So.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It was basically the equivalent of putting one of those little paper pine trees.
Easy as that.
Like the one in my car. Yeah.
Right.
So is there anyone else that either has attended and there's any curiosity about the 3 different events or individual rooms, or anyone that hasn't attended any of our events that's interested in more? Morgan, Car 54, where are you? Hi, Morgan. Oh, anyone else raising their hand here? So great to see everyone's faces. Oh, I'm loving this. I'm actually scanning it all right now, as you can see from my face going, woo, so fun. Okay, Dale said she missed tickets for the 3rd event. There weren't enough available. Yeah, we are being so careful for the 2nd and the 3rd event. Because they were set times and, performances per se, we were a little more cautious than the first event with hidden rooms.
But we did have a lot more performances on that third event. It was just, the word had got out and it was just, so popular.
We just had to
probably
close
could have run it for a week and it,
But Ralph, don't you think that's something about like the thrill for people that come, just that they experienced it for the weekend? It's there and it's gone,
That's it. It's got that beautiful ephemeral quality. And, I think so much, lives online and so much is available now that like to attend real live events that are unique and different. I think that's really special. And I think that's what people are craving, because we're sort of living in a world where, you're supposed to do a piece and put it on Instagram every day or whatever it is. And, I think a lot of, I know Dave's had that reaction to influencers and Instagram and the whole, and I understand it, because, we really wanted to do unique things, and we wanted them to be like only open for a short amount of time, just because it was, it does make it special. And, the work and the time that putting them on, it's a small team of people, we're really not a big team. So it was about as much as our bandwidth could handle, but
yeah, the whole idea is not being able to replicate it. Really.
Yeah,
it is that moment.
Yeah.
But it has the energy of almost like a guerrilla circus, this great pop-up, everybody coming together, and it happens and then they're gone. And it's just, I think it's such a huge impact for the community. Just a great booster. It's like a big vitamin C shot.
It is, and we've just like honestly made so many friends and met so many great people and artists, and like I said, people I'd admired for years, but our paths never crossed, and all of a sudden, like, they're painting in the room next door you, and it was really, really magical. Cindy did so much pulling these together. It's, it's
collaboration for us.
A wonderful experience, and just the fact that we could support local charities and that we're very much involved in the arts. It's one thing Maria and I are very passionate about, is the fact that there is no art education in LAUSD schools, unless they happen to be charter schools and the parents are putting in the money, and it's just really heartbreaking. So that's something we want to stay with, and I know it's gotten serious all of a sudden, but I think that it is really important that all our kids get a chance to explore their talents and find who they are and where their talent lies. And we've just been living in a world where everyone's supposed to be academic, and it's just great if we can sort of open up, even if you can change one person or one life with the education, with the arts, with the music. It just means a lot to us.
Yeah, absolutely.
What was the song for the rhythms of the city? Because that song is so amazing.
It's amazing. Is a good friend of Maria and I is called Heitor Pereira, who is he's a composer. He's done a lot of big Hollywood movies, but we knew him when we've known him for 20 years. Our kids grew up together. We lived across the street from him and his wife, Elena. And Maria was chatting with them one day and talking about doing it. And
I just had breakfast with Heitor, and I said, I have this idea, and what do you think? And he was like, it's a great idea, and I want to write the music. And it was like, yes, that worked. Fantastic. So
it's beautiful.
He wrote the piece specifically for it.
It was a day in LA. So it starts with morning and kind of runs through to evening.
And the idea with the corridors was to be like the freeway. So that's how people sort of went into the different areas of LA through the freeways.
Just felt like love.
Also obsessed with birds, and we've given him a book of birds, for one of his birthdays. And so there was bird songs on the track, and there was noises of the freeways, and all of that blended into the music. And for me, it was just like you'd be hearing the music, and step into the Japanese room where there was a Japanese flute and a Japanese harp, and suddenly like you were transported somewhere else. It was just. It was like the magical faraway tree or something, it was like, it was just very, just being able to, go into the Cuban room or Michelle's room, which was so amazing. And the energy, Michelle, was just incredible. People
even
were
how
really
how Michelle went from one room to another room and then into the hallway, there's a whole thing on that as well. The collaboration that was occurring was so awesome.
Yeah,
just felt like love.
It was. I'm telling you, like a love fest. Like I seriously.
Yeah.
Oh.
But like every room I just wanted to go into, and every room was just acceptance. Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. It says my internet connection is unstable. I hope that's the only thing.
And the rest of us.
Exactly. I was hoping you could talk about your sort of vision of the future of especially performance at the Rendon, and what your dream is as we move through this crazy time. How do you want to emerge, and such like questions. Thanks.
Whew, it's a difficult one. I don't think anything's changed about what we sort of want for the future. It's I suppose it's how we get there. I see things are beginning to open up, and that's really hopeful. But we see in the long run the hotel being a center for artists, a place where people can come and meet, where we'll have an arts program, where we'll have artists in residence, which will be open to artists from around the world. And it could be anything from spoken word to musicians to to writers, to painters or sculptors. We definitely want to have not an art hotel as such, not a museum hotel, but something that's living and breathing, and where we do have performances, where we do have like an arts program that's open and inclusive.
Artist in residency and all.
Yeah.
We'll have a gallery and
And I think as soon as we can, we want to start doing events again. But obviously, it's once it's safe, we really haven't dared to dream what the next event is yet. And
we have a few thoughts.
We've got a few thoughts, yeah,
which we can't share right now, but it's there. they're germinating.
That's what I want to hear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we definitely
dream on.
Yeah, for sure. So, and I know that there were a couple of there are other messages that were here, and Margaret Freeberg, she said, "I'm so grateful that you have all created these amazing experiences. Thank you. Thank you, Ralph and Maria, for having this vision." And then let's see, Dale was saying maybe 2 weekends. Think about it, Ralph, please.
We thought about it every time, but we were so exhausted by the end of the first weekend. We were like, thank you. But yes, I mean, there is a big part of us that regrets not doing them for 2 weekends, but I think it would have changed the nature of it somewhat. So, but maybe in the future, that is the way we go.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there any questions? We've gone over a little bit here. Jim McHugh.
Hey, Jim.
Hi, Jim.
Hey, I just wanted to say, I wasn't at this event, but I was at the first one. It's a very special place. Just the building itself, just to be in it adds to everything. I mean, I just wanted to say what a remarkable place it is to be able to do all of these things or do nothing really. It adds so much to everything. And you two have done so much for Los Angeles that way, and Cindy as well. So anyway, it's great to be here. Good to hear everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. And I think it's with everyone that's here, it's going to be your home. Like it's still, it's our place to be together, you know? We still, you know, want to do what we can. And I guess that even segues into like those that aren't familiar, even during this time, although we haven't been able to open up the hotel, we've still been, you know, wanting to build community and support community. And we've collaborated on a few projects. The most recent one was with Soda, an architect in the neighborhood who's working on a new restaurant to open, and we put a mural exhibition together there titled State of the World that's located a few blocks from the Rendon.
Outdoor museum.
Yeah, it's an outdoor museum. There's a proper artist statements next to each of the murals and an exhibition statement and all. And so if you haven't seen it yet, it's COVID safe. It's on the corner of 7th and Mateo, plenty of parking. If you're in the neighborhood, you can walk to it. And it's going to be there for at least another month right now. But the murals have social purposes and it's very cool. And then yesterday as well, we painted a mural in front of the Rendon with another artist that we've been working with from State of the World, Nichos. He painted a mural, and we're as well working on films that will feature these artists, and love for you to continue to, you know, collaborate and participate in all that we're working on to build our community here. So I guess I'd like to end just to stay tuned for more details, because we are going to work on our next episode that's going to feature room 20. So there you go. It's been announced. It's going to be with Mark Dean Vecca, Johnny from Hidden Rooms, Johnny Kubert White, who is from Stories, and L. Spencer Lewis, who was with Rhythms of the City. And so we're pretty excited about that. We'll be working on putting that film together and you know, creating our programming, well, we can virtually for you all, you know, to be together, you know. So, and lastly, as a reminder, each episode in the Artist Salon series is going to be available on our website at artattherendon.com and also on our YouTube page. And so feel free to share with your friends and family. And I think my last words are stay safe, healthy, continue to connect with your community here. We're going to get through this, and we all are going to be together again and have the type of events that we really thrive on producing together. Ralph and Maria, what do you want to say some last words to here, or did I kind of?
Just thanks to everyone, and just really, you know, we miss you all like crazy. I mean, we miss seeing you. I mean, we're lucky enough to see Dave and Danny.
Yeah.
And Scott, and you know, when we interviewed them, but you know, we miss people, and that, you know, Michelle was saying the other day, we had a little socially distanced drink with some clients, and it was just so nice to be out in the world and socializing. And I think we all miss that. We miss our friends. We miss the human touch. Zoom is fantastic, but it's not any kind of substitute for being there.
Yeah.
But
Miss laughter.
Thank you, and
Thank you.
Let's laugh again.
Do it.
Hopefully,
We've got a couple more comments. We've got a couple more comments, Michelle, that just came in real quick that said, thank you so much for creating this fab event. Much love. That's from Susan Feldman Tucker. We've also got C.R. Glassman, who said, thanks so much for this. Do it again and show more clips. I sent a ton of video from the Hidden Room show, I think. So she would.
great. Thank you.
Great.
And also someone wrote, thank you, keep dreaming big things. We are grateful for you and your hard work. So thank you so much. I can't wait to see live theater again, and I'll be thrilled to see you again in person once it's safe to do so. Actually, a lot of people saying thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So Michelle.
Thank you all for coming out, even though you're in your rooms. Thank you.
And I'll hand it over to Michelle, who's been hosting for us here.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, hopefully, I'm lucky to be sitting in our offices, and I hope that we can see some of you guys here soon, sooner than later.
Definitely, that would be great. All right, thank you, everyone.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone. Mwah, mwah.
Love y'all.
Right.